Uno, uno, uno. Pero no funciona aquí, es para la transmisión Gracias, gracias. Pero este no es bueno para la presentación.
Welcome to our Lesson Learn. Our guest speaker today is Francisco
Hernández. He's a native of Colombia who holds several degrees and certificates in marketing, advertising, and digital studies from Politécnico Gran Colombiano, where he received his bachelor's degree, from IESE, from the IESE campus in New York. If you are familiar with IESE, is one of the top universities in Europe now, with campuses in 6 cities around the world. From Stanford University in California, and also from UNCAE, which is a top business school in Costa Rica and Nicaragua. Francisco came to Panama back in the year 2000 to work with a very well-known world-class advertising company that you might have heard of. It's called Ogilvy. And since then he has stayed in Panama. I guess he made Panama his home. And has since worked in many positions, including as general manager of Wonderlands and director of digital media and innovation in Corporación Medcom, which, as you know, is the largest media company in Panama. He is the founder and the digital coach of Digitalmentes, which he describes as a digital transformation agency. He's here to share with us his vision on the skills that we need to succeed in today's world. But more than that, I think he's here to inspire us also. Please give him a round of applause.
It is weird to talk through this without hearing you, right? Because this is for the YouTube channel. How are you guys? Okay. Thank you. So, hold on a second. Okay. Well, thank you also for the presentation. I have to do this presentation in English, and I got to tell you this story. I have a daughter. I have two daughters. The oldest one is 7 years old, and she's studying at the British school here in Clayton. And she always said to me, "Dad, your English is so weird, so Colombian." So you will have the privilege today to have a conference in a Colombian English. So apologize for that. So I'm an advertising guy. I'm more of my career has been in advertising, working for different agencies, networks, and also for different global or regional brands. My area, or what I love to do, is to do strategy and creativity. And I'm well known. Actually, today I do have a podcast. I will talk about that later. I'm a digital creator, and I'm reinventing myself into a digital coach. And what is that thing of digital coach? What I see is that I know how to inspire other teams working in different companies in improve their digital marketing strategies without having me to do it. So help them to improve their strategies. So I became a coach recently. So I've been well known in Panama in the digital industry, but also I had been well known in transforming my body. And this is what I call transformation, right? From 200 pounds to 150, and learning, I mean, Why why sucking in one sports when I can suck in three sports at the same time, right? So I'm doing triathlon. And this is innovation because for me, water is not an element that I can domain. I had, this fear of water, fear. And the only way to improve yourself is to face your fears. So I learned to swim. I mean, I was very good swimming from one side to the other side of the pool with a glass on the hand, right? You know what I mean. But not to race in a competition. So that's the kind of things that I do. And this is related to the topic today because we are going to talk about change and transformation. And if you can do it, you can do it, absolutely. So I'm not going to talk about this because you already know. Some of you, I think you didn't remember Blockbuster, right? Some of you, yes. Some of you, what is Blockbuster? Okay. I'm not going to talk this because you already know what happened with some of these companies. Disappear and were replaced by other companies. But what we have learned here, what we have learned is that we need to change. We need to have the ability to understand that the ground is moving. And you guys, you're preparing yourself to go out there and compete in multiple industries that is not, it's like when the ice is breaking, right? And the ice is breaking and you're standing in this company and all of a sudden the industry is disrupted. So you have to be ready for that. I'm going to explain this with one example. One need 3 different business models. Some of these things, you have to raise the hand if you know what I'm talking about. Do you know what is this? Okay, a couple. Yeah, maybe. Okay, who had one of those? Yes, that's a generation test also. So Sony introduced the Walkman in 1979, all right? And it was a huge success because before that, in order to have music while you are on the move, you need to have this, I don't know, big speakers like this, and it was very complicated to have music on your. So it was disrupting at that time. So the need was mobility, okay? And let's say that the business model was selling the Walkman, and you have to buy the cassettes. Do you know what a cassette is? A tape, right? And because I said to my daughter, you have to change your tape. What is a tape? Oh, yes, they don't know. And I was trying to find a tape. In my home, I don't have tapes anymore. So it is crazy. So the promise for the people was music on the go. That's the value for the user. And then in 2001, who had one of those? Okay, some of you. Great. In 2001, this was absolutely revolutionary. Okay? Apple launched the iPod with the same need, mobility. But the business model was different. They use electronic music, MP3, and they create a platform so you can connect to this platform and download the music, the iTunes platform. And they also disrupted another industry, which was the music, that had been disrupted by Napster before, okay? I'm not gonna talk about that history today because we don't have the time, but the promise there was 1,000 songs on your pocket. Actually, that was the tagline that Steve Jobs used to introduce the iPod. Oh, sorry. I'm a happy clicker. Okay. And then in 2008, Spotify. Okay? Who had a Spotify today? Almost everyone. All right. Mobility, again, was the need. And the business is different, streaming. And the promise is access to all music available in the world. So now you're paying money to get access, and that's a completely different business model, which is very successful today. So the point here is that in one industry with one need, 3 different models with 3 different times, and it's changing so fast. Okay? So, innovate or die is the topic for today. I love The Simpsons. Who like The Simpsons here? I know The Simpsons because they predict everything, right? Like Trump on the presidency. They predicted a long time ago. And I am 50 years old. I know I don't look like, but I'm 50 years old. And in my lifetime, I heard that the world is about to end like 3 or 4 times. Okay? It's about to end. And yes, we have a lot of things. Maybe it's about to end if we do not do something with the climate change, right? But pay attention to this. I don't know if you know this story. Hold on a second. But, this, I don't know, this is another generation check. In 1999, that was the front page of the Time magazine in January 1999. Because the world was about to end in 2000. I do remember a big party, December 31st, on 1999, because the next day, the world was about to end. Imagine yourself. Tomorrow, the world is going to end. What are you going to do? Party, right? So we did it. But the world was about to end. That was called the Y2K. I'm not going to explain about that because we don't have the time, but check about that. But the world didn't end. And I don't know if you are aware of this story that I'm going to tell. The world was about to end covered on horse manure. Can you believe that? That was called, if this works, the Great Crisis of Horse Manure. It's an interesting story, but it was true. This was what the London Times says. In 50 years, every London street will be buried in 9 feet of horse manure. Incredible. But that is how the streets look like in that time. Imagine yourself living in this building over here, and your mom says, go in front to the Chinito to buy something. Can you imagine crossing that street covered on horse manure? Can you imagine getting into your home and your food completely full of horse manure? Can you think about a minute how that street smells? Nice, right? So, in London, there were, at that time, 50,000 horses in public service. And in New York, there were 100,000 horses. This was a very big problem at that time. So, one horse produced 15 to 35 pounds of manure per day. One horse. So, on the streets, there are 2.5 millions of manure per day. 1.6 thousand gallons of urine per day. Disgusting, absolutely. And another thing happened. When a horse died, because horse dies, right? They left the horses on the street, dead horses. So there was a public service that came and pick up the horse, but it could take hours for pick up that horse over there. So a lot of diseases around this, rats and flies and the smell, and it was a very huge problem for society at that time. So, oh, sorry, okay. So in 1898, there was a first international urban planning conference, right? That happens in New York. It was planned for 10 days. The best brains in the world came to New York to understand how they can manage the manure crisis. At the third day, they have to cancel because they couldn't agree on something clever on how to solve this problem. And they created this kind of machines, that clean the street. But imagine, it was there are two horses on the front, and the horses are doing, doing the same. So imagine when the manure of the horse came down to the floor and this thing moving, splashing all the manure everywhere. Disgusting. Okay, so what was the solution to this crisis? I already show it. The car, right? The invention of the automobile. Who invented the automobile? Ford? It was a German? What German? But a German. Very close, yes. But actually, there is a dispute on that. But they said that it's France. I mean, France is disputing, obviously, that they invented the automobile. And actually, that was the first one, and it was made by steam. Okay? And actually, this one has the record to have the first accident ever in the story, in the history, because they couldn't maneuver very good, so it came into a wall, and it was the first car accident in the story, in the history. So it was Nicolas Joseph Cugnot in 1770 that created the first automobile, steam automobile. But right, the first car patented was Carl Benz in 1886 in Germany. And actually, Bertha Benz, Carl's wife, was the first woman who drove a car in a long distance, 80 kilometers. Was the first long distance that a car made in 1888. So it was in Germany. But Mr. Henry Ford in 1908 was the first one that creates a model to produce the cars massive. All right? So that's a little bit of history. So the crisis end up in about 10 to 15 years because of the invention of a new revolutionary thing called the automobile. And the automobile, since the beginnings of the 20th century until now, is disrupted by electronic cars. Right? Now there's disruption in this industry. It took a lot of time to disrupt this industry, but it's gonna be faster. So, why we have to innovate? Why? Who wants to tell me? Come on, guys.
Products and like there's like product diversification. So you need to diversify in order to survive, like you said, that's why. all the
Okay.
companies have, like, because
New inventions, we need to diversify. The world is moving so fast. The industries are moving so fast. I'm gonna show you how fast is this. And you're going out to work in a world that is not anymore like the world that your parents had. Oh, okay, fact number one. There's a disruption right now in every industry. Every industry is being disrupted. In this chart, by the way, this presentation is going to be available for everyone. This chart is showing us all the industries that had been disrupted and are going to be disrupted within the next 3 to 5 years. Okay? Every industry is being disrupted. I'm going to show you an example. This is a bank. And these companies around, you see a little bit, this is a website of a bank. And all these companies are disrupting pieces of the business of a bank. Okay? For example, payment methods. You used to pay with your credit card. Now you have many payment methods. Okay? Many payment methods. And companies created and startups created to disrupt the payment methods. Or lending. There's this thing that you can lend people from other people, like from peer-to-peer lending through internet. You don't need a bank to borrow money anymore. There's crowdfunding also. You have an idea. I don't have to go to a bank to borrow money. I can borrow money from people if your idea is very good. So everything is being disrupted. And another example is in the pet industry. You used to have this kind of services like PetSmart, where you have, grooming salon, hotel, dog training, hospital. Each one of the services that this company offered had been disrupted by many companies around. Okay? So now you have things like the Airbnb for pets. So you don't have to take the pet to a hotel for pets. You can take your pet to people that loves to have pet in their homes. And they already have dogs and cats, and they're gonna take care of your pet with love. Okay, so these kind of things are happening today. So the second fact is artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is happening today. But for the first time in history, we don't know how far this kind of technology are going to take us. They're going to change the way we work. They're going to change the way we interact. They're changing the way we learn also. And we were talking at the beginning of the conference that there are professions that will be replaced for some sorts of artificial intelligence. For example, I'm thinking about accounting. Do I need an accountant where a machine maybe can do all the accounting for me faster and without having errors? That's something that is going to happen, or is happening right now. And the rich countries are going to get richer and the poor countries are going to get poorer because of the use of this kind of technologies. Why? Because poor countries, the only thing that they have, if they don't have oil, is people, right? So Mano de obra, ¿cómo se dice? Labor cost. Labor cost is so cheap, so you can outsource to a poor country your labor, right? That's the way we have been working in the recent years. But if I can replace with machine learning and artificial intelligence the labor, the cheap labor of people, and machines doing that cheap labor, I don't need, if I am a rich country, I don't need to hire labor cheap in other country. So that's one of the things that may happen in the future, in the close future. And we have to be aware on this. This is another fact. So here's the challenge. For the first time in history, we have no idea what job market will look like in 30 years and what skills people will need. It was easy for my father and my grandfather because they study one career and they stay in that career for the rest of their lives. Like, I'm a doctor, I'll be a doctor forever. I'm a lawyer, I will be a lawyer forever. There is no guarantee that whatever we're studying today is what we are going to need in 20 or 30 years. Is that right? So we need to have one skill, a very important skill, in order to survive in the future. Hold on. Okay, oops. New generations will need to learn how to reinvent themselves many times. As I did doing, exercise and training and, lose weight on these kind of things, I have to develop new skills. You will need the ability to reinvent yourself many times in the future. The problem is that many people don't like to change. I want to stay this way forever, and change is gonna be more frequent, more drastic, more constant. I don't know if you are aware of what is happening right now in Latin America, in the political and economical environment. Colombia is been in protest for the, last 5 days. What happened in Chile, what happened in Bolivia, what happened in Brazil, Argentina, and even in Central America. What is happening in the political environment in the US, in Europe? Spain has been without presidency for, 2.5 years. The world, the socio-political environment is changing, and the world is changing, and the Amazon is burning. And there are a lot of things that are gonna make this change drastic, okay? And this is not something to scare you. It's to aware you that you are going out there and work, and you have to develop an ability to reinvent. The thing is changing. I need to change. One company is buying another company. All of a sudden, you're in this company, and 3 startups created in a garage now is taking this company to bankruptcy, all right? These changes are happening so fast. So you have to be with what I call the most important skill to develop. You need to be flexible. Flexibility is gonna be the most important skill for every professional from now on to the future. Understand this, guys, because you're gonna need it. You are going to create your own companies. You are going to create amazing products. You are going to work for amazing companies also. And you are gonna be in an environment of constant change. So you have to be, it's not the way, the things that I learned at the university when I studied marketing and advertising, the same Philip Kotler is re-changing his theories because the world and the economics and everything changed. So flexibility is the most important thing. So it is time to reinvent yourself and think, how can I, each one of you, reinvent on whatever you're doing right now, or whatever you're gonna do, or the goals that you have. Because it takes, you know, that ability to move. And I'm talking about that. I have a TED conference in YouTube. I can share you the link, or you can find me in my Instagram or my website. And I'm talking about this thing that unlearn, reconnect, and relearn, because we have to be maintain teachable forever. And also, I have a podcast called Re-Evolución, in which I share some of these theories around the world about how you can re-evolve and you can change and you can create change and wellness for the people around you. So this is it. I think I did it. We're good at time. Thank you very much.
Questions? Should, let me ask you a question. What would be a good drill to learn to do this? How do we do this? How do we develop flexibility?
Very good question. I mean, like in every aspect of your life, if you're willing enough, I mean, if you have a goal, I'm gonna do it with an example. I was overweight, I had a terrible health, and I need to do something. Normally, you learn through pain. It's hard to say that, because when I visit Israel in December, I went to Israel to understand the innovation system of the country. And one of the things that I learned there is that necessity is the mother of the creation. They didn't have water, they live in a desert, they have enemies everywhere, and they have to create a country and reinvent. And today, there are universities in Israel that they patented, they create 2 patents per week, when some of our countries in Latin America create 2 patents per year, right? So the mother was the necessity. When I was overweight, when I was with health problem, I feel it, I have to change. So one of the points is will. And the next is surround yourself with a team that can give you, accountability on whatever you're doing. If you're gonna learn a new skill, if you're gonna lay, for example, I need to learn about digital marketing because I know digital marketing is gonna be important. It's important now. What are you gonna do? You download information, you go to a conference, and you search for that information. You need to have the will, all right, to understand that. Remain teachable and open-minded. I have to unlearn a lot of things from the way I used to work with teams and in companies. I have to unlearn. I understood there are different ways to work today. And willingness is the first one. Being able to understand that, hey, this is not always the way. I can move, I can pivot. Like in basketball, you can pivot. And actually, you see this in the Silicon Valley startups, and also in Israel, the startups. They have an idea, they create the product, and all of a sudden, when you go out there to the market is giving you information about the product, and the product, you have to pivot very fast, move fast, break things, go forward. And that's the kind of flexibility that you need today. I always say when I'm working on innovation that the product is never going to be finished. You have to have the minimum viable product, launch to market, learn about that, and then move fast doing the pivoting. Okay? So yes, please.
Flexibility in this context more important than resiliency. More important than resiliency.
I would say no. I think they're complemented both. But flexibility is more a skill that you need to practice in order to have resiliency. I guess resiliency is on top. But it's like when I'm running, I'm going to run the marathon. I first need some moves, all right? I need to, how is going to be my stride, right? And that kind of moves are going to take me to end the marathon. So resiliency is a result of that kind of flexibility.
Okay, we ran out of time.
So let's give a big applause.
Thank you.